Hello, I thought I'd just make a very quick video on the tanks you should be taking for Onslaught this season. So yeah, we'll just get started. 1-to-1, it's okay. The ability is fine, but the gun depression is kind of meh, so it's like kind of why would you play this thing over like a UDES or a Cent Axe? But maybe for like a flat map it is usable. 1-1-3 is kind of the same kind of thing. Like it's okay, but like there are better tanks than it for its job, which is kind of like IS-7, but like it's still okay. Like I'm thinking kind of like maybe airfield mid, it's like okay, and some other maps it's just fine. 1-to-1B, same as the 1-to-1 basically. It's okay, but there are better tanks with more gun depression. That's more versatile than the 1-to-1, but obviously it has a very nice gun. 1 WZ1321, whatever the fuck it's called. Yeah, it's just throwing. It's a trash light tank. Why would you ever play this over the RHM or the Tessac or the LT? Yeah, it's just kind of trash. WZ, yeah, it's pretty good. It's used sometimes. Ensk, for example, it can be definitely used. And I mean, if you don't have a Blitzkowitska or a V4, like it's an okay alternative. But yeah, it's fine. 5.8, kind of the same as a 113. Like the DPM is good. The armor is kind of just trash, really. Against the things you'll be fighting against in the meta category, you will not be having fun, really, in this tank. But like it's okay. 114, I think you can't play. BZ, it's sometimes played. Cliff, for example. I mean, there are other maps where you could use it. But yeah, it's kind of a one kind of use, really, if you need to get into a position with lots of health. That's really it. BZ you can't play. TVP, I would say, is throwing. I have not seen a TVP ever do well in Onslaught. Yeah, you think it's good, like, you know, you reload in like, I don't know, 7 seconds or something with the ability fully active, but it's just not very good. It has no armor, the pen is meh, the gun is, I mean, the gun is fine, but like, the batchat with the bigger clip potential is, I think, better than the TVP. So yeah, I would take a batchat every day over the TVP. VZ, I would say kind of trash. I think it's just worse than a 1-to-1 and a WZ because of if you're using the single shotgun. I actually don't know what happens. I guess it becomes it's a heavy tank with just the normal ability of healing. And I guess with a double it's the same, I guess. So that's even worse because now you don't even have that good accuracy. And the armor's kind of meh. It's like a worse. It has no DPM as well, so like why would you play it? EBR, I'm going to say is meta. Obviously not every map, but you know, when they add back Proco after they fix all the issues, Live Oaks, Ghost Town, there are a lot of places where you can use an EBR, and because they have buffed the ability to, I think, 25% more view range, you can use like a setup like low noise radio rammer, and you don't need optics because you can use your ability for the view range. 50B, I'll probably put in use sometimes. Like it's fine for, you know, Cliff. Can be used on Ensk, maybe if you're going full town, but I don't think so anymore. The meta's become too heavy on that map for it, so I will keep it here for now. But it can be used, and it has that nice ability as well to make all of your shots hit. Batchat, it's meta. I mean, a lot of 7v7 platoons, like 7-man platoons, like on some maps like Live Oaks, you take like 5 of them or like 4 of them. They're just very good. There's obviously the mobility, the gun is very nice with all the game mode effects. Yeah, it's just a very nice tank. Foch 155, let's say you can't play that. Foch B, I think it's used sometimes. You could maybe put it into the meta category. Like you could maybe put it here because it is used more than I would probably say all of these tanks. Just because, you know, if you use your ability well, you heal back so much health that it's like so nice. So yeah, you're kind of you're using a lot more hit points than the enemy can take, or you take. I mean, you can heal like literally all your health points back if you lose all of them with like level 3 ability. 30B, I think you can play this, but it's throwing. Obviously, the 30B is trash. Everyone knows this. It has a bad gun, which, I mean, Onslaught can make a little better, but it has no pen, it has no armor. The ability's kind of meh. You wouldn't play this tank over, like, even 1-to-1 of this, really. AMX, I think it's okay. This meta was quite fun when the AMX was meta, but obviously time changes, so now we're in the TD meta era, so it's kind of fallen off, especially after the nerfs to this tank. But it's still fine. Like 560 alpha is fine, you know. Obviously doesn't have the strongest armor, but especially against E4s and V4s, but it's still okay. AMX, I would say kind of trash, maybe even throwing. It just doesn't really have a place. It's like, why would you take this over a batchat in this mode, really? When there's going to be EBRs and RHMs using planes on you, so there's no real point. Mouse, I would say, is used sometimes. You don't use this tank a lot because there is E4s and E3s and V4s everywhere, especially on Ensk. Like, you might take one, maybe, but you cannot play rails because you're just going to be dominated by TDs that, you know, out pen you, out damage you, and you do like 300 back. So not great trades for you. Grill, I would say, is used sometimes. You know, Live Oaks, Cliff, some probably other maps that I'm forgetting about. You could use this tank. Airfield, East Side as well. Very nice. Yeah, it just has a nice ability. You don't miss, really. So yeah, can't really complain. RHM, I would say, is meta. It is probably the best light tank for Onslaught. Tessac, it's used sometimes. Spoiler, but yeah, RHM is probably the most used tank. Yeah, it just has the plane ability, which I think is probably easier than last patch, probably, because the radius is bigger. Obviously, it's a bit harder if you're trying to swap medium tanks, but like any kind of heavy map, you will swap all like TDs or heavy tanks. Yeah. Panzer 7, it's okay. I would not say this tank is good. I like it for randoms, but yeah, I would take this in Onslaught. The armor is just too weak, and just very slow. I mean, you could even put it here because I don't know. I think an AMX is better than it, just because of the speed. But you know, if maybe you're playing on like an Ensk, you could maybe take this or Himmel. That's probably a better example. KPZ, you can play E100. I say it's okay. Again, it just gets dominated by the TD meta, so it's not very fun to play. Everyone was playing 60 DPs last season. A lot of people were playing 60 DPs in random Onslaught battles. Obviously, competitive, everyone was taking Blitzkers and V4s and stuff, so E100 didn't have a place, but like randoms last season, E100s had a bit of a place because TPs were used a bit. But it's okay for now. Like, obviously, it has a lot of health, it has DPM. It just kind of doesn't really have any armor against the TDs that you'll be fighting against. So, yeah. Jaeger, I think it's used sometimes. Again, Ensk is a good candidate. Pilsen. Maps where, you know, you have a corridor, basically, and you can just stare down one way. Yeah, and you do your 1,000 damage. Even with, you know, TDs using abilities, that's about like 750-ish. So yeah, can't really complain. E50M. It's either meta or used sometimes. Like, you could maybe say, but it's used sometimes, I guess, because you don't see one in every game you ever play. But, you know, it's still a fine pick for most maps, I would say. Leo, I would say it's okay. I think a CS is better than it because the CS now has good gun handling. Yeah, the CS just has very good gun handling because of the Onslaught modifiers. So the Leo doesn't really is needed for the extra gun. Like, I mean, the alpha damage is nice, I guess, but like, it's so much faster in CS that it's just very nice. VKK you can't play. Peugeot is throwing. Rhino is throwing. You can't play the Caro. Can't play the Lion. Minotauro. You sometimes, I'm just gonna say, for all the Italian tanks here, obviously these two, they just have no DPM. and the ability is meh. So there is no reason to play them tanks ever. Minotauro, it's used sometimes. It's seeing more use on airfield now. For, holding the cap circle and stuff. It's quite nice. You have that 5-shot autoloader that does 530 per shot, right? 8-second into clip. You're doing quite well for yourself, and all the enemies shooting back at you do about 500 to 300 to 500 if you're using ability. So yeah, pretty nice. STB, I would say, is throwing. This tank has no armor for this meta. Like, you could say maybe Cliff, but like a BZ is just going to fuck you. And batchats will take them out of control before you can do anything in it. Yeah. Type 5, obviously it's throwing. It's just kind of trash just against any TD that's in the meta. V4, E4, Blitzka just papers through this tank. Obviously, some people trolling it on purpose. Not mentioning any names, but Hori, I think it's okay. I don't think it's used on purpose really ever. But it's still okay. The ability is quite nice, if you can get the kills and insta reload. But yeah, I would probably avoid it for the other TDs. But if you are sniping, like kind of sniping, it's still fine. Type 71, I think it's okay. I mean, I have never played this tank in this mode after the buffs, but I would imagine it's okay for like Westfield and San River, maybe. Because that 12 degrees gun depression, probably more Westfield if you're playing topside, but like, obviously it has it has kind of no armor. But like it's still okay. So I will put it in okay for now. TP, I think it's okay. You could, because it got nerfed, the DPM is trash now. The armor is still very good, obviously, but again, the TDs will just not care really that much about armor. Like use sometimes, I would say, is more kind of like you use it on for a reason. I'm going, for example, BZ on cliff. I want to go ramp and control something. Mouse is I want to hold something with a mouse. Grill, obviously, it's like I want to snipe something and cover my team. The 60p doesn't really have that. It's kind of just like, oh yeah, I picked 60p because I want to go to a heavy flank. But you're just gonna fight a fucking E4 and just lose in most cases, unless you shoot him without his ability up. So yeah, I'll put it in okay for now. CS, it's meta. Obviously you could use it, put it in sometimes used because there are reasons you take it, but yeah, it's still a very good tank. Obviously, it has its places. Mines. Sorry. Airfield going out wide. It is useful, and you will see a lot of them. Cliff as well. Yeah. Bliska is meta. I can't believe they gave this tank out for free. Although you can play it as a tank for free, or they gave them out. I don't know how you say it, but they gave the rentals. Yeah, that's the word. They gave the rentals of it, so now everyone has one of these. If they have a decent crew, they can play it. Yeah, this tank just kind of has everything. Obviously, the gun arc is annoying to play, but I would definitely still get it and try and get used to it. It's very annoying at close range when you're trying to turn. But it's still, I think, probably the most meta or like second most meta tank in Onslaught. It's probably at least top 5 tanks in the meta right now. Sturv, I would say it's okay. I think a grill is just better than a Sturv in most scenarios because you're just hitting for 1000 instead of like 550 because most people are not going to sit in front of you when they take a shot and you'd rather just hit them for 1100, with a grill. So yeah. Cran, it's kind of trash. The DPM is kind of meh. The ability is kind of meh. Yeah, I mean you can only use this on like Westfield. But I'd rather just have a Type 71 to have more DPM. Udez, it's used sometimes. El Haloof. Some other maps you could use this tank as well. Just for having that Inspire with a decent platform, with good-ish DPM. I mean, pretty good DPM. So, yeah, just used sometimes when you need that ability. Manticore, obviously it's throwing, it's probably even worse than this thing, because it has no DPM at all. So yeah. Concept 5, probably throwing. Again, the gun is just worse than a Leo by a country mile in the DPM. It has 10 more alpha, yippee, but yeah, a Leo will just destroy it, and most people don't need that much accuracy because the onslaught modifiers will make it like very. Like the CS will just be so much better and more versatile. Same with the Leo. FV, I don't think you can play. That FV you can't play. This FV, yeah, I like you could use this tank. You know, sit up on a corner and just peek out and get that try and one-shot damage, but you know, it's kind of just like if you're gonna snipe in it, you may as well just take a grill, right? If you're playing close, then you may as well just take a tank with armor, really, or like a Fosh B, so you can heal back. Yeah. Sent X, it's kind of the same as you does. These two are kind of used interchangeably. I don't think that's a word, but you know, you can switch between these two, and there's not that much of a difference, other than like if you want turret armor, you take this. If not, you take a Sent Axe. S-Conk, I would say it's kind of trash. The ability's kind of meh. The gun is meh because it doesn't have DPM anymore. The turret will not stand up to V4s and E4s, so there's not really any point to take it. Yeah, and it's quite slow. Badger, it's okay. People were using this on Westfield a lot, especially when like they had the old ability of like every time you shoot them they just reload faster. But yeah, now it's still okay. Obviously, it's a bit faster now with the ability, and you outtrade everything, and your DBM's amazing. But yeah, it kind of just gets like, why would you not just take this? As I mean, this probably has overall the better armor in like a hold down, but like this is just maybe like 10 or 20 millimeters like less armor, so you may as well just take this and have all the mobility in the world and 800 alpha. Chief can't play. Sheridan's throwing. Obviously, like, why would you play this tank when the RHM exists? You'll just get outspotted by most things anyway, so there's no point. Pattern, kind of trash. Doesn't really have anything going for it, so like, why would you play it? It has the Inspire ability, I think, the same as the 1-to-1 and this, but yeah, I'd rather play these two tanks, I think. But I mean, like, it's maybe okay, like, thinking about it, like, even more. But I will keep it in the kind of trash category. M5Y, I would say it's okay. It could maybe be played sometimes. I have seen people play it sometimes. Like, just Yankee, A-Line, people are playing it here because, the 12 degrees of gun depression. But on most maps, you probably won't be playing this tank. I would probably play it more than a 60p, but yeah. T57 Heavy. I want to put it in use sometimes, but I haven't seen one in a while, especially at high level comp. So I will put it in okay for now. Obviously, it has the heat pen. It has the nice ability, so you can like just fire your 4 shots in like 3 seconds or something after firing the first one. So yeah, very nice. E5 again. The ability lets it down, but it has more DPM than an S-Conk, so I cannot put it here. It has the heat pen. It's a nice tank, but it's a bit slow. It has 400 alpha when you're fighting blitz because they will hit you for 800 and you hit them back for 300. Not fun. So yeah, E4, it's meta. Yeah, it just has 750 alpha. The pen is very, very good, or just the best basically for APCR. It also has, the ability, which is, most broken or most used, I guess. Yeah, everything hits you back for 500 and you hit them back for 750 if they're not another TD with the ability. E3, it's used sometimes, I mean, basically only on Ensk, maybe Shijanki as well. Yeah, which is kind of the same as an E3, but it's more hard to kill. yeah, and then that's really it. M60, it's okay. I would still say these two are probably better than it. In the Scent, I would say is better than it, kind of just because it has that HE, nice HE. I can't remember which has. I think they probably have similar DPM. So um, yeah, this one doesn't have a huge cupola. So yeah, E6 you can't play. 260 you can't play. One T22 you can't play. V5 I think you can play, but it's kind of just trash. I don't see why you'd play this tank. It has no armor. It's just kind of like a worse Blitzka really, and it's slow. So like, why would you pick this? LT, it's okay. It can be used, um, especially when the enemy's taking like a Tessac. It's like pretty good at dealing with Tessacs because he can't be penned with HE at all compared to the RHM, which can. And yeah, it has a spotting plane, so will always be helpful. Can anyone? This is hard. Like 320 alpha in this meta I would think is very annoying to play because you do like 200 to blitzkers and E4s, so like yeah, enjoy. But I mean, maybe if you like you can track a tank with this tank, you will just murder it, I guess. So for that, I'll just put it in the OK section because if you can double track an E4, because when they're using their ability, you can one shot track them. So why wouldn't you take it? I guess just to try and do that. 705A. Uh, it would only be used on like probably Himmel, maybe Ensk. And I can't really think of any other map that it would be helpful for you. So I would say, I mean, maybe Shijanki, maybe Airfield as well. You could use it to side grip off the corners. So for that, I guess I'll put it in the OK section. But the gun is kind of meh. The abilities are okay. I think it has the group heal. I think I want to say. Let me check in game real quick. Yeah. Okay. So it has the group heal. So that probably makes it okay. 430U. I'm gonna say use sometimes. It's the same with E50M. I would think the 430 used a lot more on maps, obviously that are flatter. So you don't have to use the gun depression. But you could play it every single game, but I still think Blitzka would be better than it or a V4. But it still can be used for that DPM on most city maps and any flat map, really. Ants Kimmel, maybe Janky, Siegfried Line, things like that. V4, I think that's the last tank that will be meta. Yeah, it just it has the armor, has the like a decent enough gun, with decent enough alpha. The speed is very good when you're using the ability. They counter Blitzkevitskas because Blitzkevitskas shooting at V4s is not a very fun time unless they turn their track and then you can shoot their track. But if they're looking directly at you, good luck. You have to hit the lower plate or the lower plate or the cupola. And when he's wiggling about with more engine power, he goes faster forwards and backwards. Good luck. It's a hard shot. Next is 277. Like I would say, just okay. Like it's kind of just the same as E5A. You just will get fucked by the TDs, but maybe for some maps where you need to go fast and want to aggressively hold a position, it's like okay, or like go into a strike, it's okay. But I think other tanks would be better than it. 279 you can't use STB or ST2. It's a decent tank for randoms, but like I don't think it's very good for onslaught really. The armor's not great. You'll just be murdered by these tanks. Yeah, the DPM's quite meh as well. So yeah, 780 I don't think you can play. 452K you can't play. IS7. I'd probably put it like one above the 277 because it does have the impenetrable turret armor, but I think for onslaught you probably need the gun rammer on every map, so you will be slower without them Grouser's turbo. So yeah, it's okay. and it has a purpose of sitting on a flank, hold down. Like let's think like Sand River. You could probably play an I7 on like K line, and then leave him there if he needs to run away. He can, that kind of thing. T62A throwing. I mean, it's just I don't need to speak about this. It's just a trash tank. Wargaming, please buff. 268. Like probably just kind of trash. I think it has the ability of the Hori, but like the gun is worse than a Hori. So why would you play it? It has worse armor as well. So yeah, I'll keep it there. IS4, I think it's okay. You could use it on airfield, Himmel-Ensk, it has that 330 heat pen, or 340 heat pen, but the DPM sucks ass, so you will have to live with that. So, yeah. Now I know you cannot use... Yeah, there we go. 140, again, it's throwing, same as a T62A, but like a little better. 320 alpha in this meta is not fun at all. And finally, Tessac. Use sometimes. Yeah, like it can be used on some maps to disrupt radio, or the radio, the spotty thing. When a tank goes in it, you can just spray your clip into it, and you will hit a tank, and it will reset him. So yeah, very helpful for that. Obviously, with this HE clip, it's also very, very good at fighting probably E4s and E3s. Can pen the ass of them. Also, it just destroys light tanks with clips, with its clip, and with its AP, you can also, when these TDs are using their ability, you can track them in one shot. So also very helpful for pinning things in place for your team to then just farm them in the side or whatever, or just get out of their gun line, I guess, gun traverse, I guess, gun arc, I guess, yeah, gun arc. I haven't added can opener, but I would say can opener is okay. Uh, I think people play it on like Glacier mid. You could play it for sure, because I think the double in this mode is actually kind of somewhat accurate, and obviously the gun I think is 0.32. In normal mode, so that goes down to it's very accurate in single shot mode. So I think it's okay. For the can opener. Anything else? I think the Vickers, I think you can play. Again, it'd just be okay. It's the same as the Leo, but I would say a bit worse. But yeah, that's the list. Let me know if you disagree, I guess, with anything or agree. And yeah, I'll catch you in the next one. I'll hope to film some more Onslaught videos as well.